What are the downsides of having high intelligence? I'm smart enough to know how stupid I am. Overthinking and having high expectations. You think you're average and underqualified for something you're definitely qualified for. It's hard to wrangle it. Very easy to fall into depression and anxiety if you feel like you aren't filling your own shoes, if that makes any sense. I like to think I'm of average intelligence and find most people to be morons. I'd imagine people's stupidity is infuriating if you're actually clever. Read a study one time that concluded that people with high intelligence mentally finish people's sentences before they finish speaking them. This results in them interrupting speakers a lot. Also results in frustration that conversations are just so slow and monotonous. I think it's lonely. The smartest people I know are all depressed AF. I know people with higher IQs than me and they're emotionally tortured. Overthinking everything. Depression, loneliness, and a sense of underaccomplishment. While I test highly intelligent, I am constantly convincing myself that I've somehow tricked people into thinking I'm intelligent. I have a very low opinion of my own capabilities, especially relating to academic success. Imposter syndrome, I guess. Apparently that isn't uncommon. Not relating the same to the world. I have a good friend Steve. He and I do projects together a lot and it is fun to let my nerd flag fly with him. He is objectively more intelligent than me. We both work in engineering and CS, but at the bar I end up being the interpreter. I am more football, beer, woodworking, automation, coding, AI, generalist, and he is pure CS. Our best collaboration come from my ideation, his framework, my implementation. There is a wall from the real world that handicaps him. I love Steve, but I never want to be Steve. Depression. Being intimately aware of just how fucked up everything is. Idiocy and ignorance are bliss. I don't know if it's intelligence, but I think quick and can tackle problems from multiple angles at the same time. Causes friction at work where I feel my colleagues are moving at glacial pace. Another issue is that I constantly realize how many things I don't know and want to learn. It gets a bit overwhelming sometimes. You need to stay busy or you don't feel like living anymore. The whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. Bertrand Russell. The curse of knowledge. Indecision. School is easy, and you get bored. You're able to screw off and cause trouble, but you can still pass the class. Nobody understands why you aren't getting high grades. Underachievement becomes a pattern. It makes it hard to connect with most people. You know how stupid you are. In the words of a famous author, great expectations. Just cause you're smart doesn't mean you are also efficient. Imposter syndrome, depression. Constantly questioning reality. Embarrassed by certain things about being human. I sleep 3 to 5 hours a night, I would love more. THC user abuser for some peace and quiet, turns down the constant dialogue in my head. I appear to have ADHD and to have many autistic traits. Very difficult to enjoy TV shows or movies. Socially awkward at times, motor mouth at other times. My poor wife. Extreme self-doubt, imposter syndrome, social isolation, overthinking even the smallest of things, perfectionism. You generally have to sacrifice a dump stat, like charisma or constitution. Boredom. People with low intelligence who think they're high in intelligence give you a bad name. Being misunderstood. Loneliness. Always overestimate people. Then get disappointed you learn they weren't worth it. Also, if anything is too straightforward, with little to no learning curve, I just don't bother. Hate jobs measured in efficiency, rather than efficacy. Everyone around you is stupid. The mental illness that comes with it. One of my best friends was in the top 1 at the college he went to. He got hooked on meth and fentanyl. He started staying up for days at a time and was convinced I was plotting to kill him. He thought I was fucking his girlfriend. I never met her. He ended up overdosing. RIP. The burden of awareness. I know so much about so many things, but I also know that I know nothing. Also, not being able to cite my sources for things mostly during debates, discussions with others. My source for a lot of things is years of collected knowledge on tons of topics. I can't cite my damn source because it's bits and pieces of information my brain has connected together into a larger concept. I get laughed at or told I'm wrong because I can't give a specific book, website, or news article. It's very frustrating. I don't engage in those types of conversations much anymore. Talking to stupid people constantly. Why are you asking us? We're all idiots. Everything and everyone is boring and moves too slowly. Being unmotivated to make money. Many of the smartest people I've ever met were just not that into working and found many other interests far more riveting than a salaried job with time commitments. It seems to come with a lot of mental health issues. I second loneliness, which is probably what leads to the depression. It has been very difficult for me to find any sort of purpose in life. The dating pool gets extremely small. I wouldn't know. I'm here for clues. If you don't learn to compartmentalize events in your life, the stress can be numbing. Everything can be overthought. You have to learn to distress. Having to deal with people with lower intelligence who think they have high intelligence. I wouldn't know. Maybe the obligation to make something of it means you spend a lot of time chasing your potential and miss out on life, or don't bother and have to live with regret and what ifs. You're able to see the world in ways others can't imagine. That means to your average person, you talk nonsense and insanity. The result is they other you. Isolation results in poor mental and physical health. It may take a while for you to find someone to talk to. Escaping childhood sane is a miracle. You're likely smarter than your parents, know it, and are too immature to be graceful about it. You better be lucky enough to be born middle class or rich. That mind needs to be fed and it eats cash. You would think being 1 in a million is a compliment until you think about how lonely that is. That no one else seems to be able to do things the correct way. I also have a hard time understanding why people react to things the way they do. I don't fully understand emotions. Never being satisfied. Thinking for 5 steps ahead for no reason and end up getting stuck in your own head worrying about shit that might not even happen. Honestly, this probably isn't even intelligence and is some sort of mental disorder, lol. Very few friends. The frustration of people not understanding simple to me things despite repeated explanations. Having to dump things down and people ask what a word here or there means. People automatically assuming you'll understand something they're struggling with despite any context. Feeling lacking in life with jobs. You lose your ability to relate to people as there are far fewer people at your level. Short list of people who get me. Very long list of people I would rather not spend much time listening to. Imposter syndrome, and difficulty finishing projects because they won't be perfect. Easily distracted by intriguing new problems. Overthinking, depression, squalor. Being able to say the right things does not mean you can do them. Mental illness. People who have high IQ suffer from a far greater amount of mental illness. Depression and angst. Highly intelligent people are statistically more melancholy. Apparently that's just the price you pay for being smart. You know a bad thing when you see it. I tested high but not that high. I have friends who are far smarter than me. The biggest downside is I remember so much things very vividly. Imagine marrying a spouse that remembers all the shitty things you said in pretty much every argument. Now imagine if this spouse was petty. That used to be me. I would remember the shitty things she said and used it against her perhaps 2-3 years later. So moral of the story is, if you're smart, don't be petty. You will seem like a massive dickhole. We are policed by stupid people. A feeling of inadequacy and missed potential. Deeply understanding the meaning of the phrase ignorance is bliss. Anxiety for real. ITT a lot of people who think they are above average intelligence.